The money I earned during the week, by the weekend, I'd squander it all. I even earned well, but it went towards my addictions. It was to pay for the employee lawsuit. I lived a very destroyed life. I drank a lot. I used a lot of drugs. The vices took everything away. I even earned well, a good salary, because I worked. I worked for myself. I'm a truck mechanic. I even managed to acquire things. I had a good car. Everything. My workshop was well structured. Each mechanic there had their own tools. I had 5 employees who worked with me. The money would come in, but it was for vices. It was to pay for employee lawsuits. There was always a situation where I had to pay something, even if it was for the employees, for the things they did there. And I had to cover the losses they caused me. The money I earned during the week, by the end of the weekend, I'd have it all gone. And I would come home smelling of alcohol and cigarettes. I smoked 2 packs of cigarettes every day. The worst day for me was the day my wife left. It was like the ground had been pulled out from under my feet. I felt alone at home. And that's when she gave me the news that she had already moved to another state. So, because of my addictions, I would stay up late at night at home, using drugs. And then I would watch the television programs. I would watch the programs. And that's when I felt the urge to go to church. When I got to church, the pastor asked me, "What's your problem?" I said, "My problem is everything." From the moment I heard from the pastor that I had to obey the word, "Be faithful," I said, "I'm going to put God to the test." Something I'd never done before. And I said, "Now I'm going to surrender," because I couldn't take it anymore. The first thing I did to obey was to put God to the test, to tithe, to give what belongs to God. And that's when God began to work in my life. So, within a month of being in church, I had already quit smoking. I decided to get baptized. I got baptized, and God began restoring my life. First thing, He brought my family back, with great difficulty, which wasn't easy. I had to gradually surrender myself, and she gained confidence that I was determined to change. And she came back, and I surrendered myself more and more. But at a certain point, I felt I was doing too much, so I decided to abandon my faith again. Then, the first thing the devil took was my car. He took my car. You know? Then I couldn't go to church anymore. I stayed away from church for 8 months. And I started doing everything I used to do in the past. I even ended up in a house using drugs. And I saw all those people there. And I said, "This life isn't for me." Then, in the bathroom of that house, I went there and prayed to God. And I said to myself, "My God, I don't want this anymore. I don't want to go back to that situation I came from." And then it was as if the Father Himself welcomed me back. You understand? At that moment, I left, determined never to return. That's when I went back to God's house. And I understood that I had to surrender my life. My very life. That my life had to be the tithe. Not what I gave at the altar, which was money. That's when my life began to change. my life began to be transformed 100%. My whole family was restored. I managed to restore my business. I restored my house. Today I have a 1,000 square meter plot of land with a well-structured house. You know, I have trucks, cars. So my whole life is restored. Besides all that, I understood that none of that is more important than the Holy Spirit. Because it doesn't matter if a person has material possessions or a family if they don't have the Holy Spirit. He provides me with peace, joy, and control over everything I have to solve. Because we all have problems, right? But without the Holy Spirit, we are nothing.